The second cycle of dialogue spans from chapters 15 to 21. During this cycle, the dialogue gets more heated than the one before. This is true in terms of the words of Job's three friends.
Your sin prompts your mouth. You adopt the tongue of the crafty. Your own mouth condemns you, not mine. Your own lips testify against you. Are you the first man ever born? Were you brought forth before the hills? Do you listen in on the counsel of God?
The underlying meaning of Job, chapter 15, verses 7 to 8, is this: Is Job greater or wiser than God? What does Job say in response?
I have heard many things like these. Miserable comforters are you all.
Job replies to Eliphaz in chapter 16, verse 2. He says, "Miserable comforters are you all." And in verse 9 of the same chapter, he thinks that
God assails me. He tears me down in his anger. He gnashes his teeth at me. My opponent fastens on me. His piercing eyes. Men open their mouth and jeer at me. They strike my cheek with scorn. They unite together against me. God has turned me over to evil men. He has thrown me into the clutches of the wicked.
God has treated him like an enemy, so now he likens God to an enemy in response. Or Job might imply that his friends have made him their enemy, as to speak with hostility against him.
All was well with me. But then, he shattered me. He seized me by the neck and he crushed me. He made me his target. His archers surrounded me. And without pity, he pierced my kidneys, and my gall spilled on the ground. Over and over again, he burst on me. He rushed at me like a warrior.
In verse 12, Job describes God as a mighty man who fights him to no end. Then in verse 13, Job speaks of feeling besieged and attacked by God. From this passage, we can clearly see that Job portrays God as someone who targets and dispatches many soldiers to oppose and confront him. He describes himself as a target fenced in by God's archers who slash his kidneys without pity. Job sees God as a mighty warrior and himself as a victim of merciless attack. In addition, Job also speaks of his physical pain, saying that his gall has been poured out on the ground and his intestines burst open. These descriptions indicate that his pain is not only mental and emotional, but also physical.
When will you end these speeches? Be sensible, and then we can talk. Why are we regarded as cattle and considered stupid in your sight? You who tear yourself to pieces in your anger. Is the earth to be abandoned for your sake? Or must the rocks be moved from their place? The lamp of the wicked is snuffed out. The flame of his fire stops burning.
In Job chapter 18, verses 1 through 5, Bildad scolds Job for being angry. But let us remember, as Job continues to listen to his friends' words, he begins to see that they are cold-blooded and defiled like animals. Upon this realization, Job stops being polite to them and does not withhold his frustration and anger from them. Bildad seeks to correct Job, believing that if Job does not turn from his unrighteous ways, he will be destroyed. How should Job respond to Bildad?
He tears me down on every side until I am gone. But uproots my hope like a tree. His anger burns against me. He counts me among his enemies. His troops, they advance in force. They build a siege ramp against me and then camp against my tent.
Now, in chapter 19, Job hears the words of his friends spoken to shatter him. So Job turns to God again as he feels persecuted by him as well. In Job, chapter 19, verses 8 through 12. Job cannot help but think that God is his fearsome attacker and assailant. Moreover, he imagines God bringing his army of soldiers to attack him, removing his crowns, achievements, and everything else he has ever had.
I know my Redeemer lives, and at the end, he will stand upon the earth. And after my skin has been destroyed, and apart from my flesh, I will see God. I myself with my own eyes. I am not another. How my heart yearns from within.
From verses 13 to 22, we see how Job speaks of God. He thinks that God has caused his relatives to run away from him in his suffering. Nevertheless, Job hopes on and seeks God. In Job 19:25, Job says, "For I know that my Redeemer lives." Even though he feels strongly attacked, he confesses at the same time that God is his Redeemer who will return justice to him. Job trusts that even though his grievances are pouring out of him like water from a burst dam, one day he will stand in the presence of his God and be able to affirm finally that he is innocent. Though in spiritual low, Job still holds on to a glimpse of hope where he will stand in the presence of his Almighty God. This hope becomes reality in chapter 38, where God finally appears to Job.
The mirth of the wicked is brief. The joy of the godless lasts but a moment. Though his bride reaches to the heavens, and his head touches the cloud, he will perish forever, like his own done. Those who have seen him will say, "Where is he?"
Zophar continues to talk about the outcome of the wicked, which is destruction. They will finally see their end and cease to exist. Quite clearly, Zophar thinks that he is wicked and deserves complete destruction from God.
Listen carefully to my words. Let this be the consolation that you give to me. How can you console me with your nonsense?
Job chapter 21 verse 2 shows Job's reaction to their speech. He does not feel heard, but feels persecuted by them. There isn't any clarity or truth in their speech, but just nonsense. This is where the second cycle of dialogue comes to an end finally.
At Spring of Water International Ministries, we invite you to journey with us, giving seed to the sower and bread to the eater. Isaiah 55:10. To find out more, follow Spring of Water International Ministries.